Hello guys, welcome. So today we are going to be talking about abstraction, and abstraction is still under composition, and this is for painting. And one of the issues with painting, let's say this canvas, is most people get carried away with the details, and this is one of our biggest problems as painters. When we get carried away with details, um, the smooth, the surface, the mixture, but all those things, after a while, they are not important, especially when you are starting. That's why painters who are carried away with surface, there are some painters that maybe they draw their sketch or their outline, let's say, and maybe it's a portrait of a figure and the individual is just there. There are some painters that do this and then they start painting from, they start taking it. Let me change the color. They start going painting like this, the full painting. Here, some of them are what they call them, high definition painters, realistic painters, sorry. And they paint. So it's manual. It's kind of it's hard work. There's no enjoyment to most of those things. It's just hard work. You want it to be realistic. You are becoming a photograph. But that is why we have abstraction. Now, abstraction help us as painters to lay off of details. So I have some of my painting here. I have just two of the painting. If you are looking at it from afar, surely you'll be carried away. If we zoom in, you can see how the crazy roughness in the painting. So then we zoom out. But one thing I want you to know, this as a whole, even at this point, looking at it from this point, is completely not important. Let's say my approach to painting, even painting this figure, it was from a movie. If you've watched, I've forgotten the name of the movie. These are Fiennes, I think that's his name, and he was the leading this choir of choristers, I think so. And I just paused the clip and painted from it. And my approach is first, and this is what we're talking about, abstraction. Abstraction means separation, withdrawal. So separation or separating. So first thing we are looking for, we are separating the ideas. Now there are different ways to do this. Don't get carried away with the mixture. You see, when I zoom in, you see it's not beautiful if you zoom in, because I did not paint this point. I did not paint this point, then start painting it down. Painters call that the critics of old Renaissance style painting. They do call them those Rococo kind of art. They call them um, coloring. They were like coloring books. So it was just mechanical. Their sketches had to be really defined, put down, and most of the time they just like their figure from one point, and that is how they just continue painting. So that is not what we are doing. If we want to enjoy the painting, especially as impressionists, that is the idea I'm really going for. Not that I'm fully going for something like Van Gogh, no, but seeing the form and not getting carried away with that detail. So first abstraction, we separate forms. You know, some of my painting I start like this. You have seen me, I've showed you my approach before, play back my paintings, and I can start like this and start pushing. Abstraction. There's no detail there, there's nothing smooth there, but at least you start getting an idea of the painting. We start, since we start with structure first, and structure is very important. Structure of the form. That's why shape to form to surface. That is kind of the approach you go to. Big shapes to small shapes. If you know about pixels are, you know, the little box on the screen, and pictures, and that is the same thing we are painting on. So if you early on, if you start focusing on the little boxes, it will take you years to make your painting. But if you are focusing on those big shapes, big stroke, big marks, then slowly you start going down to the little details in the painting. So first something like this, and we'll start pushing it there. This is Samsung Note. This is not a painting application, but it's the same point I'm making. So we start focusing, you know, abstract. It looks to someone uh, beside us who don't know what we are doing, who don't know our process. They might be carried away. Oh, what is this individual doing? But we know what we are doing. We know where we are going. So first, this separation, that is abstraction of forms, and then we start pushing in. I'm not making the full painting. I'm just kind of showing you a guide, and that is the whole idea. So what does it mean? The same thing here. Looks wonderful, looks good. You zoom in, the same scattered look. See how different scattering of form. If you are looking at it from this distance, the beauty is all gone. But then you zoom out and you see everything start coming together and creating something um, new, something important. Another thing I wanted to talk about in that process, we talked about abstraction. This abstraction method we talked about it focuses on process, and process will give you style. But if you are focusing on style, and style is the surface form, the smoothness surface, we talked about the details. Style is about details. The way Sergeant paints, he had his style. The way Jesse Lion Decker paints, creates his style. But they were not crazy about those details. They were crazy about their process. So if you can get your process right, it will create for you your own personal style. But if you don't have, if you are focusing on style, the details, then you know it becomes kind of manual. You're acting like a photograph. The photograph will always give you a realistic high def replication of life of the painting. But the if an artist is now focused on those details, oh, I want to do this, you know, it becomes really manual. But the problem is it wouldn't create a style for you. it will make you kind of a slave to not tools, not the fundamental tools, but maybe the kind of brush you use. There are some painters they only use, oh, I use this kind of brush. What about this kind of brush? No, it's not my style, and that is confusion. Sargent painted and did oil painting, did watercolor, and did charcoal. And you look at them, they all look the same because he was still focusing on shape, was still focusing on form. You know, he was not crazy about, oh, I need this kind of this or this kind of that. Some of his advice: sketch everything, take enough paint. So they were not crazy about, we need this kind of brush or we need that kind of brush. So the most important thing is to be focused on process, fundamental tools, not becoming a slave to maybe the brush type or a different thing. I've painted with different brushes. You saw the painting I posted the last time we talked about painting hair. I was taking different kind of painting, different kind of brush, and I was just working on it. It's not that important to the point of being, yeah, brushes are important but to me it's not so important that you kind of commit yourself to just some kind of painting. You just create a cage for yourself, and you can't really go past that place because, oh, I can't do this because I don't have the right tools or I don't have the right this. But if you are thinking abstractly, I've there's sometimes I do something like this, take this, put it in my painting app, Infinite Painter, Sketchbook, Creator, and I paint from this because I'm not crazy about this, the whole details. No, I that is where you get the full enjoyment of the painting because you are not crazy about one brush or one form. You can easily do those details, so you focus on the broad picture coming together. And to create something important, you need to start with abstraction. So it's just little advice I have for people. If you know maybe you're having some problem, maybe drawing hands, some people have problem drawing hands. The main issue you have to focus on, the main thing you have to focus on is um, the abstract, the structure. No, don't focus on little details like this. By the time you are done, you don't really understand what you are doing. You just create different problems for yourself, and it becomes so mechanical that you are like a robot. Why these my tools, and you start focusing on little details. But when Sergeant paints, you go back, paint, go back, look at his reference, come drop a painting, a mark, a stroke, and that is very, very important for us as painters, not to become slave to the tools, one, and not slave to the reference. So very important. So this is just a quick one. I hope this was helpful. I'll see you guys in the next one.